Good day, everyone. My name is Kimberly J.D. Marugot. Our topic is about should we lower criminal age to 9 years old? 9-year-olds are extremely dangerous. Although their brains aren't fully developed, they can still commit serious crimes. They are among the demographic of children below the age of 15 who are responsible for less than 2% of all crimes committed in our country. Pitching the move of lowering the age of criminal liability to stop a generation of criminals would be the best thing to do for the Filipino youth. As we witness today, younger generation in this modern world is maturing. They're becoming more exposed to the filthy bad influences from irresponsible parents and its external impacts. We also see changes in the behavior of the children that warrant some care and nourishment by the parents, society, and the government. Children who are drawn at an early age into criminal justice systems can stigmatize them and damage their long-term prospects and opportunities. Therefore, I firmly believe that the age for the criminal responsibility must be lowered to 9 years old. However, children in conflict with the law should not be automatically jailed once apprehended, but should undergo rehabilitation process. They shouldn't be branded as criminals, but rather as children in conflict with the law. As reported by Penal Reform International in 2013, in order to facilitate this principle, there is a need to provide child-appropriate programs and services for prevention, diversion, rehabilitation, and aftercare. Thus, these programs carried by the principle of restorative justice would be advantageous to the child offenders. Moreover, peace and public safety will flourish. In 2015, researcher Penny states that restorative justice is used as a vehicle to promote peace starting from the 1970s because it allows a mediated communication by the offenders and the victim. Criminal liability isn't about imprisoning juvenile criminals who did such crimes. It is about putting them into youth facilities that can help them learn and see their actions were immoral and against the law. Giving them to someone who can actually take care of them is better than leaving them with their families who can't even raise them right. Therefore, it is all our responsibility to ensure that our younger generation is brought up in a suitable environment to prevent the juvenile delinquency from happening, and for the parents to become responsible guardians.
Due to the obvious increase in crime rates committed by children under the age of 15, the Philippines should not lower the age of criminal responsibility. The United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child safeguards children's rights, stating that no one under the age of 18 may be held accountable for a crime committed with intent or due to a lack of mental capacity. Lowering the age of criminal responsibility will not deter adult offenders from abusing children to commit crimes because, if caught, they can use their age to avoid justice. If the Philippines wants to reduce crime, it must reduce all forms of adult abuse against children. Lowering the age of criminal responsibility to 9 years old is ineffective as a deterrent because an offender motivated by money will not hesitate to exploit children to commit crimes regardless of their age. Furthermore, statistics show that there is a link between child abuse and higher adult crime rates. The Philippines should focus on protecting and caring for children rather than on reducing all forms of child abuse. Lowering the age of criminal responsibility in the Philippines is a call for more juvenile delinquency. Children's mental and behavioral development is incomplete. They will be more likely to commit crimes if it is demonstrated that doing so is neither harmful nor criminal. The older generation is supposed to provide guidance, but they are the ones who take advantage of children who commit crimes. Children are not the only ones who are causing chaos on our streets. They are terrified, exposed, and desperate. Many adult offenders prey on them. However, lowering their criminal responsibility age will not deter adult offenders from abusing children to commit fraud or other crimes, nor will it benefit their rehabilitation. While lowering the age of criminal responsibility may be viewed as one method of combating child abuse, it is not the best solution and will not aid in the rehabilitation of children. By lowering the age of criminal responsibility, we are likely to increase the number of children arrested, prosecuted, and detained in our country, worsening the situation. Before deciding, we must consider all its implications.
I strongly offend the idea of lowering the criminal responsibility into 9 years old. Can a 9 years old child compared to an adult gets married, get a driver's license, and participate in an election? Obviously, the answer is no, because they don't have the same intellectual capacities. Firstly, if it is a child, every effort should be made to save the child. There is a huge difference in thinking and rationale between an adult and a 9 years old child. In their young age, their brains are still developing. That's why sometimes they don't know what are they doing. They doesn't have the ability to understand the moral and psychological components of criminal responsibilities and consequences of their wrongful act. Based on a newer studies, it revealed that a human brain's full development is when a person is already 25 years old. They shouldn't be treated like an adult under the law. Do you want to know what is a children's need? Parental supervision. It can lead your child to a good path and they are able to avoid wrongful acts and bad decisions. Children who grow up with parental supervision is likely to have a good decision in life. Also, is it right that rather than providing them with the assistance they require to become a better citizens, we will just instead place them in an environment that encourages unhealthy and even illegal behavior? Instead of talking about children should be deemed criminal, we should set our efforts on developing programs that will keep them out of trouble. Others think that those children that is exploited by crime syndicates should be in jail. But that is not right because they are also a victims. Rather than putting them to jail, children who are exploited and driven by adults to commit crimes need to be protected, not further penalized. Children like them should be in a rehabilitation and should be given a chance to change. Enhancing and promoting education and support for troubled children, parents, and neighborhoods are also a better alternatives. Also, we must not forget the Juvenile Justice and Welfare Act of 2006, which is the Republic Act number 9344. It promotes the well-being and safety of the children. We must protect the rights of the children. I state my case.
So now we have all heard two distinct perspectives and two different points of view. So let me simply summarize each position. So those against began by stating that no one under the age of 18 should be held liable for a crime committed due to lack of mental ability. Also to them, if the Philippines intends to minimize crime, all forms of adult abuse against children must be reduced. Furthermore, they believe that decreasing the criminal age to 9 years old is unjust for someone who is too young to speak for themselves. And lastly, they argue that before making any rules, we must evaluate the implication first. While the favorable side of the debate believes that lowering criminal liability will prevent youth from committing a crime utilized by criminals is the best thing to do for the Filipino youth. According to her, children
who are in conflict with the law are not automatically imprisoned if they are found to be guilty. Instead, they are subjected to restorative justice. Furthermore, reducing criminal liability doesn't really imply imprisoning a young criminal, but rather placing them in an institution that will help them learn and understand the consequences of their acts. For me, as a teenager, I always support government programs, but I believe that it does not have a monopoly on what should be done because that is the essence of democracy. I believe a child, or rather a children who are developing individuals, are not criminals, but they are victims of an ineffective system that fails to address poverty issues in the Philippines. To me, the best approach to proceed is to address fundamental issues such as providing equitable access to opportunity, education, and health for our children.